I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a minister. My mom was a very strong Christian and always teaching either Sunday school or ACT teens or GAs. And so that I was introduced to God very early on in my life. And when I was very young, I found that people in the church, because I was a minister's child, a lot of people looked to me and my sisters as examples. And it made me feel like I needed to be perfect, like I was the minister's daughter and I needed to be perfect and act right and live up to everyone's expectations. And I found out really soon that that didn't work. And it upset me a lot that I wasn't perfect and that I couldn't be. And I always wanted to please everyone and do what everyone expected me to do. And when I was little, my mom used to always ask me every Sunday after the service was over if I wanted to go down and talk to the pastor. And one Sunday she didn't ask me, and I think I was about 8 years old. And I said, "Aren't you going to ask me if I want to go talk to the pastor?" And she said, "Well, do you want to?" And I said, "Okay." And I just went because I thought that she wanted me to. And so I went down front and I talked to him, and I don't remember anything that he said. He just asked me a bunch of questions, and I said yes to every question. And then they told me that I was a Christian. And I was good with that because I thought that that was the right thing to do. I thought that's what everyone expected of me, but I didn't understand what it meant. But when I was 14, we went on a trip, and my dad was talking to everyone and just saying, maybe you don't know what it is to have a personal relationship with Christ, that you know all the things to do and you feel like you know a lot about him, but you don't know him personally. And that really spoke to me, and I realized I know everything about you, God, that I can know. I've learned so much, but I don't really know you, and I don't feel a personal relationship. And so that night is when I gave my life to Christ, and I was 14 years old then. And it was kind of embarrassing because it surprised my dad. It surprised a lot of people in the church because they thought I was already a Christian. And it was sort of hard to come forth and say that I wasn't, but it was good to be honest. And my parents were, of course, very proud of me and very happy. My senior year in high school was very difficult because I came to a place where I had to decide between some friends of mine and whether or not I was going to follow Christ. And I think that for a long time in high school, I had been sort of playing Christian and being who everyone wanted me to be at church, but being someone else at school. And I realized after my senior year in high school, if I'm going to say that I'm a Christian, if I'm going to say that I follow Christ, then I need to be dedicated to that. And so I decided then, sort of a rededication of my life to Christ, that I wasn't going to play around, that I wanted to be a serious Christian, and that I really did want to devote my life to Christ. And in doing that, I lost a lot of friends. I began to try to witness to some of my friends from high school, and they didn't want to hear it. And that was a hard time and a lonely time in my life. But God is very faithful. But right after I graduated from college, I went through a really hard time. I became very sick, and I almost died. And I was in the hospital for 2 months and had to have 2 surgeries and went between 3 different hospitals and saw all kinds of doctors. And some doctors would come to me and say, "We don't know why you're sick. We don't know what's wrong with you, and we can't help you. We've done all we can." And there were a lot of times when I didn't know if I would make it to the next day, and there were a lot of people praying for me, just praying that I would make it through the night. And it was a very dark time for me, and I was very depressed, and I thought, "God, what did I do to deserve this?" And I tried to get better, and I tried to tell God, "Just teach me what you want me to learn so I can get better." And I felt like I had to do something so that God would heal me. But then God began to show me that it wasn't about something that I'd done. It wasn't about something that I could do, but it was something that He was doing in my life. And one night when I was in the hospital, I opened up my Bible to 2 Chronicles 4:16. "Make petition, give thanks, and praise the Lord, the God of Israel," is what it says. And when I read that, I really felt God speak to me and say, "Sarah, it's not about you. It's not about something you can do, but here's what I want from you. Make petition, tell me what you want and what you need. Give thanks for what I'm doing in your life, even though you don't understand it. And then praise the Lord for what I'm going to do." And so I had to change my attitude and change it from being bitter and being depressed and angry at God to thanking Him for what He had done and for what I knew He was going to do. And God healed me. And He allowed me to move past that illness and move past my anger and my bitterness. And with His help, I was able to grow through that time. And He taught me so much about patience and about His power and His healing and His love. And He really changed my life through that illness. But what I would like to pass on to you is to trust God, even in the hard times. Because I've been through some hard times, and it's hard to trust God through that. And it's hard to understand what He's doing, and we can't see where He's working and where He's moving. But I know that He is God, and I know that He is faithful, and He has proven Himself time and again. And one thing that God always seems to say to me when I get worried and when I get frustrated and when I'm having trouble trusting is, I've brought you so far. Do you think I'm going to leave you now? And I just always say, no, God, I know you're not going to leave me. And He never does. His word says that He'll never leave us or forsake us, and that we can always trust in Him. I hope that you will continue to trust God and grow in your life no matter what.